I was thinking about starting with a song that our tour managers just told me was like the saddest song he's ever heard. So maybe that'd be fun. We work, start off on a sad
start
note. Off on the drag, and then you peak up to the middle here.
Yeah.
Well, I carry this curse like I carry a tune. I mumble and stumble, and I howl at the moon. I'm a little more lost, I'm a little less found, and I'm fully aware of how empty I sound. I'm straight in harm's way, baby, that's where I stay. All my blues gone to gray for one more sad day, straight in harm's way. See, this man that I am is a man who gets cross, caught up in a tempest and tipped over and tossed. Well, this thing that you see, this thing singing these songs, well, I hold him to count for most all of my wrongs. Put me straight in harm's way, baby, that's where I stay. All my blues gone to gray for one more sad day, straight in harm's way. I'm straight in harm's way, baby, that's where I stay. All my blues gone to gray for one more sad day, straight in harm's way. All my blues gone to gray for one more sad day. Straight in harm's way.
Fantastic.
Thanks, man.
I loved it.
Thank you.
And that is from Clouding Up Your City, the newest album.
It is. It is.
I was looking for the song. This is right below on the track list. Highest Shelf.
Oh, the Highest Shelf. Yeah,
I love
the
that
song.
song.
Thanks, man. It's one of my favorite ones to play live that we've been doing. Since we put the record out, I like that song a lot. I feel like it's a good song. I mean, I don't put anything out that I don't think is good.
Yeah,
So
for sure. Another thing that I've noticed, I was looking through. I've been trying to do some research on you guys and everything, and your sound.
That's a dangerous business.
Well, we'll get into that later.
Show
Don't worry.
man, no holds barred. Here we go.
But your sound from the first album to the newest album is like spot on. It's like the same sound.
Well, it's I don't. Some people might disagree with you there, but it's. I mean, as far as like my vocal patterns go and my melodies go and the way I write music, that's just how I do it. And like that's what's in me and what comes out. So it's I put a lot of time into songs sometimes. Sometimes they don't take long. Sometimes they're like 15 minutes and they're done. And those are the gifts, really. It's the ones that you roll around your head, like Out of the Birdcage. That song had been in my head for 5 years. before I actually got it out. Just a couple of lines, and they would just cycle through my brain randomly throughout every single day, just about since I first came up with them, trying to find what complemented the line, and then I finally found it.
So yeah, on that, so how you write music, is it just you have lines that you come up with, or you have a melody in your head, or is it all the above?
All the above, yeah. Well, it's all the above, and it's all not necessarily at the same time. Like sometimes you get a really good idea for a really cool melody, you've got da 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 da, and then you find out how to make the words fall in place or whatever. Somebody, I think it was Peaches, our tour manager, said that I was the master of the extra syllable, which I think is cool. I like to fit stuff in places where it shouldn't fit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just adding like an extra syllable here to make
trying to intentionally use words with multiple syllables, like the opening line to Tough Luck / Crying Shame.
Yeah.
Is the fellow of the hour is a Berteroniana flower, or the Berteroniana is a flower that blooms once and dies. But Berteroniana is a 6-syllable word, And I wanted to get that concept in there right off the bat of something that blooms once and dies.
Yeah.
And just something that it's life's just a fireball and it only lasts a day for some things.
It's just like it's instant.
And
almost.
The Berteroniana is just a cool word, like for a flower that blooms once and dies. Why not use that?
I don't think I've ever heard a song besides that song that uses a word like that long or has that like 6 syllables.
Berteroniana it's 6 syllables, pretty good.
It's hard to find music that's that deep anymore.
Well, it's hard to find people that think about it that much or whatever, that hard. Like, I don't know. And sometimes it can be a little bit of a curse because then you kind of can wear stuff out if you're not careful. But I just don't I don't ever want anything that comes out of my mouth on a recording or on a podcast or anything to sound corny. I don't think corny stuff has any place in songwriting, really.
Yeah.
Funny stuff sometimes, but not corny.
Yeah.
There's a line, and I don't cross into corny. I try not to anyway.
It seems like, especially in like today's, and I don't know what you guys, if you guys have a genre that you think you fall in, you just fall into whatever
one will book me at whatever venue I'm trying to play at.
That's perfect.
Yeah, well, that was the thing when we started out. People were like, "Wow, you got Red Dirt Band." Like, yeah, sure. Now, no. Do we sound like a Red Dirt Band? Any Red Dirt Band? I don't think so. I don't think at least our first record had any of that. But we did have a lot of influence from the Red Dirt songwriters. Like Skinner has been influencing my songs since I've first heard him at the Blue Door 15 or 20 years ago now. I hate to think about that math, but that stuff, and hearing Bob Childers and those guys. I went to the Blue Door to see Ellis Paul with my friend Drew Watson. It was his dad's birthday, and his dad knows Greg Johnson from the Blue Door. Like, they went to college together, and his name, they called him Spot or whatever. And Drew's dad ended up getting really drunk and tripping a bunch of mushrooms and being really loud in this really quiet place. It was a really interesting show. But from there, I started hanging out there because it was a cool place to hear music. And I still posit that that's the best place to hear a band, really, or a songwriter or anybody that's playing live. If they're coming to the Blue Door, that's the show to go to.
Yeah.
Because that's where you get their sense of relationship with the crowd, or how they interact and how that energy moves them and how they move that energy back when they cycle it back around.
So it seems like you like smaller rooms then, that you can more feel the crowd than a big stadium per se.
Well, they both have their merits.
Yeah.
They both have things that I really like about it. I like to plug an electric guitar in and rock and fucking roll, but it's not for every gig.
Yeah.
And I see people, there's bands out there that play the same gig no matter where they're playing. I'm like, that's not what I do at all. They try to get me to go on a set list, and I try to use it, but God, it just annoys the shit out of me sometimes. Because I don't get, I like to be able to assess a room on the fly. When I've got a crowd in front of me, I like to feel like I can move that energy around or whatever, and kick it up a notch or take it down a notch and make the extremes that much bigger or whatever. I think that makes for a great show. That's just dynamics or whatever.
To your point earlier, you said we don't sound like a Red Dirt Band.
Yeah.
When I looked you guys up, just trying to find some info. That's what they put out there. Is this is a premier Red Dirt Band,
sure.
And they're listing you alongside the Great Divide and Turnpike and all these.
Well,
and I'm I don't get the
reason
same.
for that, though, was that we started out right about the same time as Turnpike. We recorded our record in the same place, which was McClure's basement. And so, like, we should technically be a Red Dirt band, but, like, I think we're more of just a rock and roll band that kind of has a Red Dirt tinge, especially to the songwriting. And, like, that's the thing. Like, there's so much influence from the songwriting, but as far as the sound goes, I don't think the sound is Red Dirt. I think the sound is more just necessity being the mother of invention or whatever.
Yeah.
I think that's what makes for somebody like me. That's what makes me like it. It's like a culmination of so many different genres kind of smashed together.
Well, because we had so many different genres of players, like people coming from different genres. When we first started out, it was me and Gabe, and then there was Biggie. Biggie was my drug and heart player that he was my road partner for 10 years or whatever, and I could play a show with Biggie and play a killer show, me and him, every time. He's a hell of a harmonica player and a hell of a cook. He's a French-trained chef.
That's a
weirdly
combination
enough,
right there.
he also just drank a fifth of vodka a day for 15 years or something. I love him to death, and I miss my brother. He's one of my favorite people in this world. I love playing music with him, but he came from like that jam band scene, and not really the jam band scene, but like the blues. He could go in and follow along with any band. He'd just pull his harps up and start blowing, and that was the hallmark of being in the Damn Quails. It's like you can step in and not have to practice.
Yeah.
Like, we don't do practice, just play. And we had the deli every Monday night. That was our weekly gig. And anybody that wants any advice from me on how to get started or how to get your music out there or how to do your thing, is get a weekly gig. Just get a weekly gig, and if you can grow it and if people come, like, you have to hit it for a year before you even see any growth. But once you start seeing it, it starts to snowball. We sold that place out for a year, every Monday night.
Yeah, we have a friend of the pod that he plays at Bad Brad's every week.
Yep.
And then he runs a songwriter night there, so
Nice.
he's getting practice every week.
No, that's what you have to do, and that's what gets you salty, and that's what gets you to become a master of your craft. Like, you have to do it all the time, all day, every day.
Yep.
And practice. Like, a lot of people sit around and practice so much, and I'm like, dude, your practice really doesn't do you much good, because you got to be able to actually play a show, and something about playing that show and being able to work the energy into a fury that only comes with playing live shows.
Yeah,
So-
it's you're as much of a performer as you are a songwriter, singer, everything else.
Thanks, man. So I think it's important to be a showman a little bit.
Yeah.
Of
course.
You may have gotten this question before, but are you do you have any Irish in you?
Yeah, I have my family on my dad's side. Very much comes from Ireland.
Okay, so I'm not crazy for
No,
hearing that.
you're not
and
crazy. And a lot of people ask me that. That's one of the most asked questions
Yeah.
I get. It's like, are you from Ireland? Like, no, but I'm like 2 generations away or whatever, or 3 maybe. But I grew up in Bethel Acres, Oklahoma. So I'm an Okie technically. I don't know what it is, if it comes through more when I'm singing, I think. Just something about the way that I want to sing, or whatever, the way that my body wants to sing, from whatever genetics that calls back to.
So I actually met you in Perry. I was probably a month ago at the Axe House.
Yeah. I live in Perry now, which I love. I live at a place called the Old Crow Corners that my buddy Uncle Mike Rice owns. We're trying to turn it into a little listening room kind of thing.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Eventually. So, but right now I'm just living there and kind of keeping track of the place. It's a 3-story building. Used to be a mortician's place.
Really?
Ambulance service and a furniture store.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I got a body elevator I ride up and down all day, every day. I'm just, every time I'm like, yep, bodies. I'm like,
Huge thank you to Vernon from Brad's Bat.
Blah, 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 blah.
Blah, 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 blah. Leave this part in. Huge thank you to Vernon from Brad. Oh, man, I can't say it. Huge thank you to Vernon from Bad Brad's Barbecue for hooking it up. We got some cool set decorations here. We got the whiskey flight and then the shotgun shell shot glasses. So, Vernon, if those go missing, don't check our houses, because I would never.
I believe he actually is selling those shot glasses and that flight at Bad Brad's Barbecue, along with, again, some of the best barbecue in the state. So go check them out.
Yeah, go in there. You can get a hat. We got hats over there. And we've also got some Bad Brad's gift cards to give away. So if you see us around anytime at Brad's, not at Brad's, hit us up. We might have a gift card for you.
For sure.
Jagger, it's about lunchtime, I think.
I think it is too.
You know where we got to go, right?
We're going to Bad Brad's.
Bad Brad's Barbecue. I'm getting the burn ends with the jalapeno cornbread. It's not even a question. That's what I'm getting. What are you getting?
So I
know the answer
usually
to
get
this.
the dirty fries.
Oh, you're switching it up on us.
But I tried some really good tri-tip the other day, and man, it was fantastic. So I think next time I go in, I'm gonna go get the tri-tip.
Let's go.
Yeah, let's do it, man. Based on some of our research, we know you're a big fan of knives and stuff. Yeah. And I met you at the
I love
Axe
that
House.
comes through in the research.
Yeah.
Since I was a kid, man, I've loved throwing knives and axes at stuff and anything sharp. Axes are my favorite thing, I think. Knives make me want to murder sometimes because they're just so frustrating. Which is convenient because you got a knife, but I try not to do it around people most of the time. Axes are cool. I'll throw axes, but knives definitely make me want to kill.
So being just down the block from the Axe House, you've got to be pretty good at throwing axes now, right?
Well, I have one on the first floor of the building.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I set one up the first day I got there. That was my thing. I was like, what I really wanted more than anything at that point was a place that I could throw axes inside, because it gets really hot in the summertime.
Yeah.
And I don't mind the cold. I'll throw out in the snow and shit if I have to. But like at my mom's house, she lives in Oklahoma City, and I've got like a 15-foot double target built up in her front yard. She lives on the east side, OKC. So I'm a little out of place there, but I'll be chucking double heads from way downtown.
Are you a big fan of, I think it's the World Axe Throwing League, the Waddle?
I have played their game. It's not bad. I think that I'd prefer something a little more like longer distance.
Yeah.
I like doing the big doubles and shit. Like outdoor shit's fun because, you don't have a ceiling. You can chuck them pretty far.
Yeah, I bet.
Yeah. I've got some really cool videos. From time to time. I almost murdered my phone once with an axe. I stuck a double head upside down, and I had it sitting in the Y of a tree, and it was really, really close. So that was the last time I did one of that throw at the phone. But I figured that was close enough.
Yeah.
But no, I love it. Gives me something to do when I'm writing songs. Like I have to have something for my hands to do because I write in my head.
Yeah.
So, like sometimes I'll have a piece of paper around somewhere, but usually when I'm running lines and stuff, it's just up there, and I have a jukebox that I can play whatever song I want to play, whatever instrumentation I want to play it on, and so like I can hear it. Like I don't have to have a guitar in my hands or anything.
Huh, that's awesome.
It's great. It's a great superpower.
Yeah.
I don't know why I was lucky enough to get it.
So, go ahead, Ray.
I had a. I
I didn't need no iPod in jail, so.
I was looking through your Instagram, looking for some information,
Dangerous again, yes.
and I found this picture of you, and I'll try to put it on screen if I can. But,
on the screen? We got a screen?
Well, on the After Effects.
Yeah. Oh, all right.
Of you.
Is it gonna be behind
somewhere.
So
somewhere.
We'll put it at each point.
Please, each point he touched.
Please put it every yes.
Of you and Reed Southall.
Oh yeah, my buddy Reed Southall. I talked to him yesterday.
Give us a little bit of the backstory on that, or?
We robbed a grocery store one time, and we kind of had to split up in the getaway. No, I met Reed. God, I'm trying to think of when I met Reed. Probably Jeremy Nipp may have introduced me to Reed Southall. He's the bass player for the Reed Southall band. Mm-hmm. One of my good buddies, and one of the great younger songwriters in the scene. Him and Ben McKenzie are real good friends. They all kind of came up in Stillwater together. Mm-hmm. And I met them actually at McClure's the first time. It's when I first met Reed Southall.
Really?
Now that I think about that. Yeah, they were trying to record a record down there, and they were just hanging out, and I went down there to hang out and throw some axes at stuff down there at Mike's. Burned some stuff, probably did a lot of burning, a lot of sharpening.
That reminds me of another question.
A lot of grinding. Oh, God. Does it now? Indeed. So that's the first time I met them when they were recording down there, and they were just really sweet kids. And really dedicated songwriters, and really trying to make their stuff better, and trying to learn from other people's mistakes. mine, in fact, I'm sure. They have their shit together, which is great. They have huge crowds. They play huge crowds all the time. They are bussing it. I'm so proud of them. I love them to death. I played guitar on a song on their last record.
Really?
Yeah, I played on
For the Birds.
For the Birds. That record. Yeah,
Okay.
It was the acoustic one. Here we go, and there we went.
Oh,
That
yeah.
one.
Yeah.
Guarantees already
You
spent.
love that. He
That's-
loves that.
That's
song.
me on
Yeah.
acoustic guitar.
Oh, okay.
Really? That's awesome. That's a cool fact.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. I hung out when they were recording that record a little bit.
Yeah.
Like I say, they're nice enough to let me hang out with them. They take us out, let us open shows, and it's like boys. Like I try to impress upon them how really fortunate they are and how well that they've done, and so they don't forget that. And because sometimes when you get in the middle of a thing like that, and you start thinking like, man, it's cool, but it's whatever. It starts to become maybe a little bit of a job, and I don't want that to happen to them because they're in such a good spot. And they're doing so good, and I'm sure they always will. They're one of those bands.
Yeah, we got to actually talk to Reed here when they played at Calf Ride. He's a super cool guy.
Oh no, he's one of the nicest guys, salt of the earth dudes you'll ever meet.
I really wasn't expecting that either.
Yeah, man, his folks are super sweet too. They're just incredibly nice. I spent most of lockdown at Reed Southall's house. Throwing axes in his yard because I was living in an apartment at the time. I didn't have anywhere to throw, and I hate being cooped up inside, man. Unless it's 1,000 degrees like it is right now or whatever, in which I have to just stay cool. If it's in the 90s or whatever, I'm outside throwing axes or doing something, screwing around. And they lived in this really creepy, huge house. And because they were all living together, they were doing the band house thing, and they were never there. They were always out on gigs playing and doing stuff. And Seth Nip, who is Jeremy Nip's brother, lived downstairs. And I would hang out for about a year and a half or 2 years straight, just hanging out with Seth, throwing axes. I'd come inside, cool down, smoke a bowl, then go back out and throw some more, and that was my lockdown pretty much. That, and I did a few live streams, and I played a few little house concerts. But man, that was a whole new lifestyle we had to adjust to for a little bit, and that's how I did it. I just hit at Reed Southall's house. So.
That's a pretty good place to hold up for a lot.
Well, and when they were around, we'd sit around and fuck around with songs.
Yeah.
And I did a couple of recordings down their videos. Their video team is great. Scuba Steve, one of my favorite people, their videographer. And David, they've got just a hell of a crew assembled. They've got all their ducks in a row, and I love them. Love that for them. So yeah, I would sit around that was music, and that was axes, and that was songwriting and all. So that was my hub, and I hope they know how much I appreciate them letting me hang out in their house while they weren't there.
Yeah,
occasionally they come home and I'd be tripping something, but
I think they're fixing to drop an album here pretty soon.
They are. They just recorded it,
Yeah.
I believe, at the old church studio in Tulsa where Leon used to record, Shelter Records or something, somewhere like that. I'm pretty sure that's the case.
Yeah.
And they did it all live, which is the only way to make a record. That's why I made the new record. That's how I'm making my sister's record. We made Down the Hatch. We tracked a lot of it out. We played some of it together, but most of it was individual parts. Mm-hmm. And you can make a record like that, and it can be a great record. That was a great record. But I like something about playing live. Just if you've got it to where you can do it, then why not do it that way? Because it feels so much more natural. And I feel like the new record just feels really like a really natural assembly of guys that play music. And several of them hadn't even played together at the time we did it. There was 4 of us, or 5, yeah. And we would just go through each song 2 or 3 times, and which is great for me because I did the vocals and everything while we were doing it. No going back and doing shit. I knocked out the songs and I went out and threw axes while they overdub stuff. Yeah, that's my shit. My friend Michael Trepanier recorded the new record, Clouding Up Your City, at his studio, Cardinal Song, in Oklahoma City, kind of by Yukon.
Yeah.
Beautiful, my favorite place to record music. Mike's my favorite person to record music with. So he did my first solo record 18 years ago. And then we got back together. We came around the other side and made this album because we both kind of went out in the world and did our thing. And Mike started and went to the Conservatory Academy of Recording Arts in Tempe, and then he went out to New York City and was there for like a decade recording music at the Looking Glass for Philip Glass.
Really?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
He's got all kind, and then he came back and started teaching the school at ACM. He was kind of the head over there for a little bit of the recording stuff.
Yeah.
And Mike's just a brilliant man. With brilliant ears, and he will never let me make a bad record. So that's like a lot of trust to put in somebody, but I trust Mike Trepanier. Yeah, so
That's awesome.
Yeah, he's a good dude.
What about the name? Where did that come from?
It was Christmas, so there you go. I was going out and I got laid off from a job. I was working as a CAD technician for an engineer, civil engineer. I was actually like a wildly good civil engineering CAD technician.
Really? I do a lot of CAD because I'm
Oh,
an
did you?
engineer.
Yeah. So I did Civil 3D. I worked
Really?
for a couple of big engineering firms, but the one unfortunately that I was working at in the end was a smaller firm, and it was kind of just one guy. And I went to cash a check and it bounced, and so I was like, well, shit. So I just went out and started playing every gig I could get my hands on. I got on unemployment for like 6 months. And I was like, fuck it, why get a job?
Yeah.
So I started playing at the Deli every Monday night, and we were at Libby's every Wednesday night, and Mooney's every Thursday night, and we were playing at least 1 or 2 weekend shows a week. So, I mean, like, that's a lot of gigs when you start breaking it down, and we did that for 3 years before we even signed anything or got any kind of record deal.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, and so that's just more salt, and then it was just me and Gabe for a while, and then Biggie started coming, and then Knutson started coming, and everybody, like all these different players from wildly different backgrounds came together, and we just started making music for nobody at first, and then there was 2 people, and then there was 10, and then there was 20, and then there was 92 or whatever, packed out. And it just kind of snowballs like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So where did the actual?
Oh, the name. Sorry. Yeah. Sometimes I forget.
No, you're good.
So Christmas time, we would come home after these gigs, playing these weekend gigs or whatever. And my ex-girlfriend had a family that had some non-traditional things, and so on her Christmas tree, she didn't have normal ornaments like a human, normal person or whatever. She had all these birds, like stuffed birds, like real-looking birds. And one of them, in fact, was a real skinned bird. And I was saying, but on the bottom limb was a covey of quail, like a mama quail and a couple of baby quail. And it was right at guitar height. And whenever I would come in from playing gigs or whatever, I would knock them off. Be like, "Goddamn quails," which is not grammatically correct at all. But I thought that was funny. So
That's great.
Yeah.
That's an awesome story.
That's what I was expecting. Something along the lines of that.
we needed a name, and it was as good as any stuff.
Yeah.
And my sister actually did the artwork for our first 2 records and a bunch of our early posters and T-shirt designs. My sister Kirsten White designed.
Yeah.
And drew. She drew the down the hatch cover. But the 2 quails, like the quail logo guys or whatever, the little cartoon characters, mine's Smoking or whatever. I'm the short, fat one with the hat. That was an easy thing to market or whatever. As far as like we had something we could put a marketing plan around, at least some kind.
Yeah. So you guys released your first album.
Mm-hmm.
It does great. I mean, it's still, I think, your most popular album on there. It's
sure.
It's a great album.
By far, thanks. I'm really proud of that record.
So, and I think shortly thereafter, in my research,
What'd your research tell you there, Sonny?
you guys had some problems with your first manager.
Say problems.
He wanted to take your name.
Oh man, so it's a really long and sordid tale, a lot of which I'm not supposed to talk about because I signed some shit that said I wouldn't. But we got taken to court over some stuff that we never broke our contract. But in America, if you have more money than somebody else, you can sue them. And that's what happens, and you get to say whatever, and then you have to work it out with another lawyer. You got to pay all these, and like he was basically trying to, run our career into the ground. So, but we overcame that, and it was a really hard deal. It was a long, arduous process. He was trying to take our name, trying to say we couldn't use our name, lots of other stuff, that I can't get into. But long story short, we were right on the trail of the Turnpike Troubadours, who had just put out Normal Street. And they're buddies of ours. They're great guys. It's amazing that they're the biggest band of all time or whatever. Pat on the back, fellas. But we were trying to follow right up their trail, and we would have done that. And that's what we were doing. Everything was kind of on par to go that way. Like we were going to be, in a bigger bracket than we got to because things fell apart.
Yeah.
And when you have all this steam and this, what they call buzz or whatever, if you don't grab it and strike while the iron's hot, then it leaves you, and then but you don't even know because you're living kind of 2 or 3 months behind. Because when you're booking gigs, your booking agent's booking 3 months out, and so the gigs you're playing now aren't as good as the gigs that you feel like you should be getting with all the press and with all the buzz and the talk or whatever. And then they start getting a little better, and you're like, oh, this is better, this is better, but then you kind of stall out and you start playing the same things, and then things get a little less. And it's one of those things. We needed a new record, and we couldn't put one out until that lawsuit was settled. Yeah.
So on your second record, something really cool is that your fans helped you fund your second record.
It was really cool. It was the most stressful month of my life that I've ever had and will ever have, I'm sure. But I can't believe, I can't believe we pulled it off, but we did. And we had a great team. We had some great people helping us out, but a lot of it was me, and a lot of it was our manager at the time, and our tour manager at the time, Blake Olson, who was the most amazing tour manager that has ever walked the earth and will ever walk the earth, who could literally read my mind and anticipate my needs before I even had to say anything about them. And so we were all really working hard on this thing, and we were like, what's it going to take? And we wanted to do it big. We were a different band when we were going in to record this record, because we had been playing constantly. Like, we played 220 dates a year for a couple of years in a row, 3 or 4, when we first were starting out or whatever. Which is a lot of shows, and like, it's a blur. It starts, the one kind of starts to blend into the next, and you go, and before you know it, a year's passed, and before you know it, 2 years have passed. And we needed to record that record, and as soon as we finished the lawsuit stuff, the next month we started that Kickstarter. And the thing with Kickstarter is, you can GoFundMe all day, and your GoFundMe, and people give you money, and you got your money, and that's cool. Kickstarter was a more of a nuanced kind of thing. It was different because you had to set a goal, and if you didn't reach that goal, you didn't get shit. Which made it a little more like, kind of like, all right, urgent or whatever.
Yeah,
like
kind of
something,
more like white knuckle.
More call to arms or whatever. Because like, we wanted nothing more than to keep going, and we've been playing all these really great shows at really great places and meeting really great people, and that's been one of my favorite things about it. Is just seeing how far it's gotten, how far out it goes, and seeing how far people will drive to come see. Like, we had Angela Merkel's chief of staff and his staff took a vacation to come see us in Houston from Germany. Wow, like I could not believe what was happening, and it's cool that it got that far. And if you haven't seen Juanye Dominguez do his cover of Fool's Gold on the banjo in Spanish, then you owe yourself a treat, because that one's pretty good too. So seeing how far it gets and meeting cool people has been the best part of it. But we set a goal for $50,000 because we wanted David Beta from Reckless Kelly to produce it. And David Beta's a bad motherfucker, and he had this really cool guy that was Kevin Wisniewski, who is this fucking big, tall, white dude, bald dude, that has this 12th Street Sound recording studio in Austin. So it was an old church, and something about old church. I grew up going to church, and churches have a sound about them, and I like the way that this place sounded, and I like David Beta's ear. He produces all the Reckless Kelly stuff, and so all that's David Beta's like production work. And Kevin Wisniewski had engineered the Foo Fighters and shit, so like he was good. And they work really well together. Watching them work together was great. Making that record was great because we made it live. We could track live in there, and it sounded excellent. We had Dan Walker on the keys, who plays for Heart now. He's this super genius keyboard player, just amazing to work with. And yeah, we raised $50,000, $54,000, I think was the total, $54,000. Wow. And I literally spent every day of that month. I was in New Braunfels hanging out with Rhea Tripiano, in the River Road Ice House where I thought we were living there or whatever. He was living there, and he told me to come hang out with him. And I was like, well, I'll come hang out with you for 6 months or whatever. I just kind of left my relationship thing that I had in San Antonio. And literally, as I was driving up, headed towards Oklahoma, Rio sent me a text and was like, hey, come hang out at my place sometime. It's like, I'll be there in 20 minutes. And I went over there, and all he had in this place was a record player and a coffee pot and a copy of Street Survivors, the Flame cover, Lynyrd Skynyrd on vinyl.
Yeah.
You guys know what that is?
I believe so.
The Flame cover.
Yeah.
Everyone on the original cover of Street Survivors, it was just a black kind of thing. All the guys, and the flames were touching the ones that died, and they pulled the cover. So everybody that died in the plane crash right after
okay.
they put it out,
Yeah.
the ones the flames were touching were the ones that died in the crash. A little weird. So they pulled that cover, but him and Rio Triviano had a copy, and we listened to the shit out of Street Survivors. Just fucking cranked it up. And we didn't have a fridge or like an ice chest at first. But yeah, so I just sat there and emailed people all day, every day, and I did a bunch of writing. I had this thing to try to make the goal, because we got about halfway through the month, and we weren't there.
Yeah.
We weren't even halfway there, and like shit. So I did a thing where I would write a song about anything you wanted for like $1,500 or something, or $1,000.
Wow.
And we had a bunch. I think I had like 8 of them or something, or 9 of them, which is really cool. A fun experiment too, because I just made this little questionnaire. I was like, tell me what you want your song about, and blah blah blah. And some people gave me a lot, and some people gave me a little, and some people gave me almost nothing, and it was cool because I just got to go with it as I wanted to go.
Yeah.
And it's a fun exercise to challenge yourself like that.
Yeah.
I like a challenge. Like, I have a point system with songs. I'm the only one playing, so I'm winning the shit out of it. But yeah, so that was that, man. And $54,000. You'd think like, holy shit, we're rich, and then all of a sudden like, oh okay, oh yeah, okay, it costs. So
Oh wait, we gotta spend all.
Yeah, we had to spend it all almost immediately.
Yeah.
And so we were just like, we're rich for like 4 days, and then now we're back to the grind. But
Yeah.
we played the whole time we were recording that record. It didn't take us long. I think it took us about a week and a half maybe to do all of it. Which the new record took 4 days. We did the new one in 4 days. Really streamlined the process since the second one. But I think it's a great record, and I feel like it's a little, I don't want to say underappreciated. I think it just flies a little under people's radar because it's not what they wanted, and people wanted another Down the Hatch, which I get and understand, but like, we weren't that same band. We didn't have the same members.
Yeah.
We went through a lot of lineup changes due to a lot of crazy shit. And the way things happen, and you just kind of got to roll with the punches or whatever. And so we had to make do with what we had, and we kind of changed our whole core lineup and changed the instrumentation. It was a time of great change, but it was a time of great rock and roll music. It's kind of an angry record a little bit. There's tinges of anger in it anyway. So I really like it. Me and Dave still talk. I talk to David Beta on the reg. He's my guitar tone guru or whatever. So anytime I'm trying to find something, I'm like, Dave, what do I want here?
Yeah.
And Dave tells me, and Dave has impeccable tone. So if you've ever seen Rep with Kelly, you know what I'm talking about.
So, speaking of guitars and tone, it looks like you have quite the collection of guitars.
I don't have a huge collection, but the stuff I have is nice.
What, you want to talk about some of the stuff you got?
Sure, yeah. No, my most recent purchase that I've really been into it's a 2017 Gibson Explorer. So it looks like a big kind of a Z. Mm-hmm. It's a really wild looking guitar. It's cherry red. It's sexy as hell. It plays really well, and it's just more of a rock and roll. Like, the setup that we're rolling with now is kind of a different one than we've ever had too. And we're running a 4-piece most of the time on the road, which is me on guitar. We got Caleb Shertam on bass, Frosty the Snowman on drums, and Ian, Screamin' Ian, on the keys. So keyboard player really fills out that whole space, but I get to play a lot more guitar, and so my tone's a little more beefy. I've got a Stone Pony 65 amp that is really great. I'm really just got it about a month ago, and I've got that Explorer, and then I've got my silver dollar guitar that my mama got me. My mama hit a jackpot at a casino outside of Norman. It's like a $10,000 jackpot. And she called me and she was like, "What do you want?" And so I had a Telecaster when the Quails were on the road that was my main guitar for years. It got away from me, and I bought that exact same year and model guitar that it was a Telecaster from 2004-ish. It's got this weird TBX tone control button on the tone that makes it sound a certain way. I always liked the shit out of that guitar, and so I got one, but it's painted Montego black, which is a weird custom shop paint color. It's like a black, but if you hit it with a spotlight, it just sparkles gold. It's gorgeous. And my mom had found a silver dollar at this casino, and I'm into coins and collectibles and stamps and all manner of weird nerdy shit. It's kind of my side hustle or whatever, because you don't play music without a side hustle, unless you're an idiot. But so I took that silver dollar and I glued it onto the pick guard of this brand new guitar my mom had bought me, because that's my mama's guitar. But I played the shit out of that one. I like that one a lot too. It sounds really good.
What's the yellow one you've got with the looks like a tortoise pick guard looking thing on it?
Is it this one?
No, it
No.
is.
Show me. I'm trying to think. Yellow.
Right here.
So my buddy E-Rock. Okay, yeah, that's E-Rock's. I can't even remember what brand that guitar is. It's I think a Reverend maybe, or not a Reverend. Something. Jason Isbell plays them, I think. So E-Rock, my friend, is a drummer. He used to play with Mike McClure, and he played with the Suede Panther was his band. They were like the Shred Dirt band, like an 80s rock, Red Dirt. They were amazing. And I used to go play baritone with them, and I'd fuck around and play guitar and shit. And McClure would come out sometimes too, and they'd back up McClure, and we had like a little run. We'd go on. It was a lot of fun. But E-Rock has a studio out in Pawnee that is on the top of a hill, and it's like he's got like a half a mile of highway that's his driveway, that's just his highway now or whatever. And he shoots guns, and he's got a bunch of crazy guitars and amps. We did a video for Monsters that we shot a lot of, up there. I played a Telecaster of his that has a solid aluminum neck. And that Billy Bob show, I played that butterscotch guitar and that Telecaster. And like the neck is like $1,000. It's this super heavy aluminum neck, and when you play it, it just dips down like this, and so you have to kind of back up. It's but it sounds so cool. It's just such a really cool sound. So I took that and this old Vox amp that he got out of a storage unit down here, and somebody had bought a storage unit, and like they were like, oh, it's some kind of guitar speaker. And he picked it up for like $20 or something crazy. It's a 64 Vox amplifier. It's the one they made in California, but Vox license, and you turn it up to 10, and it's perfect. I just dime it just all the way. Yeah, and played that. I played that and his Flying V at Billy Bob's. I love going to Billy Bob's. We still take a huge band to Billy Bob's. We can have like 9 or 10 guys up there sometimes. Yeah. My sister will come and sit in and sing and stuff. We sing harmony together really well. We kind of grew up in the Church of Christ, and so there's no instruments, like there's no guitars, there's no pianos, like none of that heathen nonsense. All you can do is sing, and so like when all you can do is sing, like God, like everybody singing the melody together sounds kind of dumb. So you figure out how to sing harmony. Yeah. And that's where we've got it from. But we've got this really cool harmony thing going between the two of us. It's a lot of fun. Yeah.
So before we switch gears, we want to hear one more song.
Sure.
Maybe one of three, or second of three.
Second of three?
Yeah.
All right, second of three. Anything tickling your fancy or tripping your trigger? Blowing your skirt up, maybe?
Rhett's always got something up.
Highest shelf?
Sure,
unless you want to do something.
Yeah, we talked about that. Gotcha. So this song, I just kind of about being a weirdo. I'm a little bit of a nerd. I always have. Every musician is. Like, being into music's a little nerdy when you get down to it, and like, it gets cool at some point, but like, for about, 8 years or so, you're still just a nerd playing in your garage or whatever. She pulls a book of magic from the highest shelf, makes a potion for my waiting lips. It bubbled and it burned, and it made my stomach turn. I just giggled, spat, and took another sip. Redemption hath no value for the truly lost. Lord, it might as well be ashes on the wind. They flutter and they fly, and they blind your crimson eye. You can blink 'em back, but you won't see again. 'Cause you don't have the Constitution to see the journey to the end. No revenge or retribution, no hope left to break or bend. Shifty-eyed, we're flying blind again. They keep my favorite poison on the highest shelf, right there in plain sight. But somewhere out of reach, you goddamn selfish bastards always get your way, and I never have my say. You just prattle, drool, and choke on what you preach. 'Cause you don't have the Constitution to see the journey to the end. No revenge or retribution, with no hope left to break or bend. Shifty-eyed, we're flying blind again. Oh, shifty-eyed, we're flying blind again. Oh, shifty-eyed, I'm Bryon White again.
That's awesome.
Yeah. I
I
love
could
it.
sit here and
Thanks,
listen
man.
to that. That's
I
awesome.
know. Yeah.
Thank you.
What about that guitar? That looks like it's got a lot of stories behind it.
This old beater. I got this. So when we did kind of do that record thing, it started off really well. I like to emphasize that because like things were going really great. Like we had us and McClure were the first two people signed, and Tom Skinner was signed right after, and we all like when our record came out, Down the Hatch. And 50 Billion came out, which is one of my favorite things Mike has ever done, artistically and musically. It's just a fucking great record. I don't know if you've ever dug into 50 Billion. It's an amazing album, front to back. And so that record was doing really well, and our record was doing really well, and we were everywhere. We were everywhere together. We were going out on runs together, which was so much fun because I love playing with Mike. Like he's one of the people that I love to play music with more than just about anyone. Because we have this connection, and it's just an electric thing that exists between our brains that we both grew up in the same, like fucking 5 miles from each other. Like we're in the same area, and we have the same kind of like rock and roll leanings into music or whatever. And I feel like we have a mental connection that goes beyond this plane of existence. And so when he messes up, I mess up with him. Especially if we're really on one, and like there's nothing like playing a fucking full band rock and roll show with Mike McClure.
Go check out Dead Wake Archery Innovations. He gave us a little hat there to give us a little set decoration, and I know if we would have caught him before we built this set, we'd probably have a whole bow.
For security purposes, I don't know if we could have had the bow in here, but
it'll be all right.
especially after the comments you've made in the last episode.
Well, I mean, yeah, for sure. But I'll tell you what, that Leviathan bow will get everything you need. Get every job done you need done.
Leviathan. You guys need to follow them on Facebook, Instagram, all that stuff. They just posted this week. I don't know when you're going to be seeing this, but this week they posted some really cool pictures of all the different colors they've got, the bows they're finishing up. So you want to get your order in soon.
And a little nugget of information here. They have just upgraded their manufacturing process this weekend. A little picture shown on there. They're going full-time. Congratulations, Trevor Pigeon out there. He is full-time. Dead Wake Archery Innovations. Super proud of him. Great entrepreneur. So just go out and support him, man. He's doing a great thing over there at Dead Wake, and we're really proud to see where they're going and where they're going to end up.
They've perfected the craft essentially.
Yes. And one really cool thing about it is it's 100% made in the USA, 100% made in Oklahoma, which is another cool thing. I know most of our listeners are from Oklahoma, but if you're not, it's still 100% made in the USA. I mean, just go grab you a Leviathan bow, and a little sneak peek, they're going to have another line of bows coming out here really, really soon.
And they, there's other companies out there that are making similar products, but they're just copies of other people's products. No, sorry. That's crazy. But at Dead Wake, they design their own products. You're not getting a copy of someone else's product. You're getting a engineered product that they designed themselves.
Made to order, and you can even get personalized designs on your bow too. They got some great, cool things going on over there. Anodizing, if I can put the words out of my mouth. Anodizing and
Anodization.
Anodization.
I don't know if that's a word.
Either way, but you can get a cool custom design, whatever you want on your bow. You can even customize the grip however you want it as well. And go check them out.
Huge thank you to Dead Wake Archery Innovations for sponsoring us.
So everything was going really well, and we got a gear budget for the first time because I needed gear. And like when we signed the thing, I was like, if you want to do this, we're going to do it right. And like we need stuff that's cool. And so I needed a new guitar, and I went out and this was the first one I played. I went all day to different places playing guitars. I stopped at this place it used to be called Red Dirt Brothers in Yukon. It's not there anymore. But I went in there, and they didn't have anything fancy on the wall, didn't have anything caught my eye, and I was like, you guys have anything good? Like, I need something like fucking good. Like, I'm not here to look at your Takaminis and shit. And I'm like, they brought this out of the back, and just, it's not a Lee Oscar or anything, but it's a Guild Jumbo F50 that I love with all my heart. It's my left arm or whatever. I'm left-handed, so it's my left arm. I feel weird when I'm without it. I just had it in the shop for like 2 weeks, getting a new pickup put in it and getting just a few maintenance done on it. And the guy got particularly backlogged, and I was just like walking around for the last part of that week, just like, I don't know what to do really with myself other than like the last time I was without it, they lost it on a plane when I was flying from San Francisco to Oregon. And I was supposed to fly into Bend, Oregon, and instead I flew into Portland because of weather. And they lost it for 3 days, and I was a mad motherfucker up there. Just like I'm standing here until you tell me where it is, until you at least tell me you know where it's at and it's safe. And like they were like, sir, as soon as we can do that. I was like, you let me fucking know. And I stood there at the counter just for hours, just angry, just furious, and worried and scared. But they found it. It's fine. I don't baby it. I take it everywhere I go. So from the time that I've had it, like it's gone literally everywhere with me, and I've gone a lot of fucking places. Yeah. And so just the wood bending and changing, like when you go from here to Texas, like when you get there, everything's tuned up. Like you got to tune down a little because it gets a little more tense. I know this guitar well enough to know, like if I'm going to Montana, I know it's going to be flat when I start, tuning it, and like it's just, it's an old friend, and probably my best one of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you were talking about Turnpike earlier.
Yeah. So
one thing that I know, or at least in my research, since that's going to be our theme of the
day.
You're
the researcher. Yeah, I'm loving it.
Yeah. You guys have one thing. I'm sure you guys have more than one thing in common, but both bands have been on a hiatus. So you want to talk a little bit about your hiatus that you had to take?
All right, I'll talk about my hiatus. We do share a common thread. And me and Evan Felker actually went to the same facility.
Really?
So, yeah, he was about a month after I was. Yeah, and it was a really great place called Rob's Ranch. And if you are a person that's suffering from any kind of addiction or drug addiction or sex addiction or whatever kind of addiction, rehab is a thing you can go and do, and you'll learn a lot about yourself. I don't know if it's for everybody, but it sure will, at least give you a chance to reset and reassess and figure out why maybe you're running off the rails a little. And because, I was, and then I ended up going, and I really, as much as I hated it and it sucked, and it was tough, it was probably the toughest thing I've ever done. Because I went for 90 days just completely no shows, no nothing. I couldn't even play shows for almost a year. I couldn't leave the state. Just because I, signed up they put me on scholarship. The Red Dirt Relief Fund paid for some of my treatment, which, God bless them, Tim and all those guys at Red Dirt Relief Fund are incredible human beings for what they do for musicians in Oklahoma, and they really helped me out with that. And it was just a crazy paradigm shift in my existence, and I needed it. And so I recommend that to anybody. And Rob's Ranch was a great place with really great, kind people. My counselor was a guy named Mark, who's just a badass. He gave me this Shit Creek Canoe Club sticker. That was Survivors Club. Yeah, awesome. That was from Mark, my counselor. Great people, yeah. And so sometimes you gotta take a pause for the cause,
Yeah.
Yeah, and then
for sure.
It was really hard to play music sober for the first 6 months. Yeah. It was just a nightmare for a little bit, in fact, because after not being sober for so long, and you go out and you're like, oh, I've done this a million times.
Yeah.
I'll be fine. And you get up there and you're like, what is this? Like, why would anybody do this for a living? Good Lord, jeez, no thanks. And then you kind of got to figure out how to loosen up a little. And thank God for medical marijuana, but that really was my saving grace.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's a little too in your face. It's just a little too harsh. It's a little too real, and you start to question yourself and every decision you make when it comes to playing or singing or anything. And when you're analyzing it that much, you're not having fun. And if you're not having fun, there's no reason to be doing it.
Yeah.
And so I had to grapple that a little bit. Mm-hmm. And so it was the hardest thing I've ever had to do. Yeah. But I feel like I came out of it a better person, better equipped to adjust to the things that life tries to throw at you or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a video on your Instagram.
Is there?
It's a piano in flames, and the caption is Bryon 1, piano 0. You want to explain that a little bit?
So when I moved into the building here in Perry, the first floor was kind of just a catch-all for some stuff for the last decade or so. That Mike's dad, when he lived there, he had a bunch of stuff, and they just kind of there's a bunch of stuff on the first floor. And this building's like a city block long. It's not a small place. And so part of what I was doing was I was cleaning stuff out and getting stuff a little tidier on the first floor. And when I got stuff cleared out to the back, there was a stand-up piano, just a big old stand-up piano that the soundboard had cracked on, and it was the keys were all falling apart, and it was kind of a nightmare. And I'd had this weird dream, vision, desire, want, whatever, since I can remember, to set a piano on fire with a flaming hatchet. So we started doing some promotion for the new record, and we had to have videos. We had to have some videos to go along with the release. And so we shot a video for Monsters. My friend Scotty Galaxy, from down River Road Productions down there in New Braunfels, Texas. He's just one guy, and he's got a bunch of cameras, and he's a songwriter, and he's a weirdo. He's an artist, and one of my favorite people in the world. He's the only person I like, really. Him and Jake Flint, who is passed on now, were my only video guys that I used. And so now it's just Scott. But he came up from New Braunfels, and we just shot 3 videos in 2 days up there in Perry mostly, and then some in Pawnee out at E-Rocks. But the Monsters video we did at E-Rocks, and we put that piano on a trailer. Mike said I could have it to do with what I will. So I put it on this trailer, and we took it out to E-Rocks, and I just kind of wrapped a little piece of rag around this, my favorite little throwing hatchet, soaked it in gasoline, and lit it on fire, and shucked it. After I'd set, we had to soak the piano in gasoline, of course. It was fun. It was a lot of fun. It was very, very, very hot. I made a GIF out of it too. There's a video of me just doing like one of my big dramatic hand motions. And it's just this eat shit piano. Piano is just I mean, like, I had a sunburn the next day that was just from the flames or whatever.
Yeah.
It was hot, boy, but it was, God, we got some cool stuff, like some cool videos and shots. So if you haven't seen that video, the Monsters video is great. Yeah.
I watched the Monsters video last night on
Yep.
Spotify.
Yep.
And that reminds me, I noticed your first album is not on Apple Music.
And I can't do anything about that, unfortunately.
Okay.
Yeah. I wish that I could. I get that question a lot, too. And the fact is that, due to some of the lawsuit stuff, like I don't have any control over that.
Just
record or
another
what
reason
happens
to
it.
listen to Spotify.
Yeah, or steal it, actually. Steal the shit out of it.
Download
I'll
it.
send it to you. Send me an email. I'll give it to you for free. Fuck them. They can't take a joke, you know?
Oh, that's great.
Seriously. Bryon White booking at gmail.com.
Sounds good. We'll put that email in.
Yo,
the
please,
description.
flash it up. Make it pop up here. You're going to like that. That was me and McClure. We were, so Mike used to do these sessions with people that really wanted to make a record, and like they had some money, and Mike was like, yeah, I'll make your record, whatever, I don't give a shit. So he really kind of enjoyed it. He would just take people's songs and help them put it down on tape and get a song out of it. And sometimes he needed help, or like he needed harmony parts, and so I would go down and I'm great at harmony, and so I would sing harmony for Mike in his session, and we were playing this song, recording this song for this guy. God bless him. He was just having, like, his voice was really hard to sing with because he had some nuances and stuff that I just had to really work to get, and I knew I was going to miss this part because we've been trying to get it, and I was just missing it. And instead of saying the part, I was like, "You gonna like that?" And everything from then on for the next 3 days was, "You gonna like that?" You know? So we were trying to write that song. "You gonna like that?" I'm just thinking about stuff people gonna like. New mud flaps, an old pickup truck, a girl who handles her liquor without throwing up, a little bit of whiskey in your favorite cup, and you get a little higher on each sip and each sup, and you gonna like that. So, that's a hit or whatever. I'm not gonna record it, but it's a hit.
So, I feel like you're a man that has many crazy stories from the road. Is there one that you would like to share, or that you'd be willing to share? I guess?
Absolutely not. Well, I mean, like the stabbing stories out there. I've done that a few times, but I can tell you that.
Let's hear it. Let's hear it.
Well, our long story short, we were playing this place in McKinney, Texas, called Hank's, and at Hank's McKinney, great spot, and they're glorious, fun-loving, fantastic people, and they still let us come play there. Thank God. Because it's a great place to play music, but their hotel is right next to the venue. And so back in the day, like, we were kind of in a stressful period with the whole band blowing up and shit and whatever. And we were still on the road constantly playing these shows. And when you're on the road like that with people, like, you don't often, especially guys in bands, we don't like to talk about our feelings. It's kind of what puts you in rehab eventually. That kind of shit. But so we stuff them and we don't talk about stuff, and we let stuff build up to where, like, one person just hates another guy because he stole his seat or whatever. It's just petty shit starts to really grind your gears. And you have to have some degree of separation or you'll start to hate each other. And that's what I try to also impress on some of the younger guys. I'm like, man, sometimes you just get a break from each other, or like make it a point when you're out on the road for this endless periods of time. You got to make it a point to have a day like, we're all going to fuck off on our own, and like nobody's going to see each other the whole day. And it's great because it really like gives you a chance to refuel or whatever. And so we were kind of in a stressful period, and we hadn't really blown off that steam yet. And so everybody takes the fact that your hotel is right next door. We don't have to drive, so everybody just gets as smashed as they want it. And everybody kind of got smashed, and then kind of an argument started between the merch guy and the bass player. But they get in kind of a shove and fight, and then like they get into the hotel room, and they finally get up the stairs and shit. And Biggie, harmonica player or whatever, he was friends with the merch guy, and he was really kind of pissed at the bass player because he took a seat or some shit. I don't know, And so he sees the bass player pushing the merch guy around or whatever, and he just comes in swinging and starts beating the bejesus out of him. And we call Biggie because he's a big guy. He played rugby and shit. And he was pretty drunk, and he was getting out of hand, and the bass player was scared for his life, so he pulled his knife and he stabbed him twice in the chest.
Oh shit!
Yeah, it was cool.
Oh my god!
Yeah, it was a big deal. We had a call. They called the cops and the ambulance and stuff. And the EMT guys were like, "You guys look really familiar." So yeah, that happened. It was a wild one, boy. It changed the course of our trajectory substantially. Yeah, but I mean, sometimes shit happens. Shit gets real.
Did anyone look to you after this, knowing your history with the axes and whatnot?
Well, I'll tell you this. We had the rule in the van after the stabbing. You had to have been stabbed or stabbed somebody to carry a knife. That was the rule. So, and there was more than a couple of us carried them. But, no, yeah, I didn't stab him. Definitely wasn't me. You'd be amazed at things people start to believe, and like it's funny to me because like I'm egging it on or whatever. I'm like, yeah, sure, yeah, I absolutely did that.
Yeah.
And so the things that you hear when from time to time, the whispers in the corners of the venues or whatever, it's like, really awesome. Like somebody really believed that.
Yeah.
Like, I think it's great.
If you're big enough to have people starting rumors about it, you've made it.
If your shadow can grow some hair on its face, then that's what it's all about.
That's a good one.
That's a good one. I like that. That's really good.
Did you have any idea when you put out like that first record, like all the songs seem to have been? It's kind of strange. Almost all of the songs seem to have really been popular.
On Down the Hatch.
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
But Fool's Gold was so much more. Did you have any idea, like coming out, like one of these is going to be the one, or?
Of all the songs of mine on the first record, I thought that was the one that would do it. Like I had that in my head, and it did. It was a song that was just. I mean, it's the simplest thing I've ever written as far as music goes. As far as like the chords go, as far as the melody line, there's only one chord change in the whole like as far as like from the first verse to the chorus, it's almost the same thing. It's just one different chord, but simplicity and like adaptability or interpretability or whatever, the hallmark of a great song, and I think that song has that, and I think it's proof of that is the amount of different things that people approach me thinking that the song is about. And none of them are ever right, but it's fine because it doesn't have to be about anything. It's not. It's about whatever you want it to be about. And it's where you can fit yourself into the narrative and where you can apply it to your life and where you can get it through hard times or whatever. It doesn't matter. It's that kind of a song. And I'm just really glad that I caught it out of the air or whatever.
So what is it actually about?
Going to jail. Yeah, so I was in this band. My brother-in-law had a Red Dirt cover band that played original songs, but we would go out and play like Gilmore's out in El Reno was our big place. And I just played lead guitar and sang a few songs, and I'd sing backups and stuff. And my friend Zach Wiederstein played drums, and I still work with Zach a little bit, do some songs here and again. Zach's a great drummer, great guy. Terry Floyd, the lead singer, related to Purdy Boy Floyd. We had it all. And my stepbrother was actually the drummer in that band for a while too, before Zach kind of retook drums. And we had a lot of fun playing together. And it was cool. That was where I first got introduced to Mike McClure and whatnot. But we were up in Kansas at a place called Captain's Place in Goodland, Kansas, which Goodland, Kansas is like this far from the Colorado border. If I'd have been in Colorado, I probably would have been okay, mostly. But we're playing this place called Captain's Place. My buddy Joel was playing bass at the time for the band, and or maybe guitar, I was fuzzy. He had been taking apart silos in Kansas for a job, which was a weird job, and he stayed in all these weird little towns. So he's in Goodland, and he goes to the bar, and the guy says, yeah, you got a band? Come on out. We'll pay all this exorbitant amount of money. Cool. And so we put the band together. We get out there. I drive my mom's car all the way to Goodland, fucking Kansas, which is 9 hours from here. And we play the first night without a hitch, and then we're playing the second night, and it gets to the set break, and I go out back to get high like I always do. And I was sitting in my mom's car, and I'm just ripped a huge rip off this bowl, and I see all these flashlights, and it's just flashlight, flashlight, flashlight. And oh man, that's probably not good. So I get arrested in the middle of the set. They have to finish the set without a lead guitar player. And I'm in Goodland County Jail for 3 days, just about. I had a migraine. I had one cellmate named El Gato Negro that really liked to talk about all the stuff that he had waiting for him outside, and he'd been there for a bit. El Gato Negro, the black cat. But yeah, he taught me to put my cereal in the toilet in the morning. I don't know why, but that was a thing we did together a few times. Every time they brought the food in, he was like, "Put your cereal in here." I was like, "You got it." I'm like, I don't like this shit anyway. I couldn't eat. I can't eat in jail. Never do. Occasionally instant coffee, but not even usually that. So I got a Stephen King book from the book pile, Insomnia, and I read all of Insomnia when I was in jail. I love Stephen King. He's one of my favorite literary, novel writers or whatever. And I waited on my upset mother and my very angry girlfriend to come pick me up from jail, and they did. And on the way home, like, it was a quiet ride for 9 hours, and I'm just burning it up in my head and trying to kind of figure it out. And I'd had maybe part of the song before that, but I really kind of figured that it applied, and it worked out. So yeah, I wrote that song coming back from jail, and that's what it's about, screwing up. And everybody does it, and that's kind of a thing. It's a story old as time, thing that happens to everybody.
Yeah,
kind of screws up. So, you want to hear it?
Yeah. Since we're talking about it, let's hear it.
We actually recorded a halftime version of this song that ended up on the radio in Cushing. A guy named Sean Kelly that used to run the station out there ripped it off, pirated it off the internet. I love that. Oh, the truest test of a man's good name is acceptance of failure and losing a game with a smile and a handshake and a quiet, ever-building rage. Got knocked around in a real small town. They poked and they prodded and they marched me around for a laugh in the snow. They tried to tear a good man's soul. For a fool's gold, a beggar's bargain, it's too much time and space to get lost, and it's one for the road, and two if you can let it go. Oh, now blood's thick, but the water's deeper, the wine works fine, but the whiskey's cheaper. Turn it around quick before your sun goes down. Oh, I see you found yourself a damn fine game. You got lines on your mind and you've got ounces to say, but it's okay. Hey, yeah, we've all seen our darker days, and ain't that the goddamn truth? But it's like you never saw a sucker before. You've been alive on the side of your bedroom door with an ear on the phone, just begging just to let it go. For a fool's gold, a beggar's bargain, it's too much time and space to get lost, and it's one for the road, two if you can let it go. Oh, now blood's thick, but the water's deeper, the wine works fine, but the whiskey's cheaper. Now turn it around quick before your sun goes down. care for a fool's gold or a beggar's bargain. It's too much time and space to get lost, and it's one for the road and two if you can let it go. Go, go, Lord, now blood's thick, but the water's deeper. The wine works fine, but the whiskey's cheaper. Now turn it around quick before your sun goes down. And I said, turn it around. I said, now turn it around, yeah, quick before your sun goes down.
Fantastic
That's
again.
awesome.
Thanks, man.
Again.
That is awesome.
I learned how to sing with the Catholics. Weirdly enough, I was in a Gregorian chant choir for a year in college, my first year of college. So I sang Gregorian chant in this weird little choir that went around and did all these weird things. I'm not Catholic at all, but screw it, a scholarship worked. So,
Do you ever get tired of singing that song?
absolutely not.
Really?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
I feel like that song has taken me a lot of places, and I owe that song a little, so I'm fine with it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, like, I won't play it more than once, like a day or whatever. There's
Yeah.
me and Dylan Stewart came up with this 24-hour rule, where, like, if I sing a song, like, I ain't singing it for another 24 hours because it doesn't have the magic. It loses its luster,
Exactly.
and it has to build back up a little, and like. So like sometimes you play house concerts and people are like, play it again. I'm like, God, like I don't play it twice in a day, and like I tell them that, and then I'm like, all right, I'll play it one more time, but it's because I like you or whatever.
I think it's almost the same on the listener side as well.
I would think
because
so. Yeah.
I think that's one thing that's really hurt by the streaming service is that whenever you were in the radio before any of the streaming happened.
Just that and everything else.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like you can go listen to a song 5 times in a row, but if you were waiting to hear that song on the radio, it's like, this is my favorite song. There it is. It's a surprise factor.
It's a thing that is drastically changed over the years, because I know that feeling you're talking about, because I existed in that period, and like you did too, just a little at the bare tail end. I don't know how old you are, but you ain't that old.
I'm 21.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Jesus. I've almost lived twice you. I was 21 once. It was a good time. I played in punk bands when I was 21. I played punk music when I was a kid in high school and shit. Yeah. Shit. What were we talking about?
The magic of radio, basically.
Oh, no, yeah. No, seriously, like, that's the thing. Like, I remember waiting to hear a song that I had heard just to get that. Like, there's... The way that songs exist in space and time is they're brief. Mm-hmm. Songs are so brief. You only have 4 minutes tops, really. I mean, sometimes a little longer if you're Neil Young or some shit. You can get away with a little bit longer, or Bob Dylan. But, I mean, like, I got 4 or 5 minutes to get a really complex scenario or idea or whatever I'm trying to get across. I have a very small space to do that within time-wise, and I have a very limited number of words with which to do it. And so I try to choose my words really, really carefully, because one word can drastically alter how a song is perceived or how it sounds or how it feels. And I think that just having to wait to hear something like that, because when you find a song you like, I don't know, like, it moves me to hear, and like the parts within it, like when it hits that bridge or whatever, or the lead up to a solo or the solo itself, whatever it is about it that really gets me about that song, like something about waiting to hear it just really makes you appreciate it that much more, like a whole lot more. And I think that's one thing that kids aren't gonna have anymore now. It's very strange to think about, but like, I don't know kids that listen to the radio.
The only thing I don't like about the radio aspect of it is that, to me, they're not playing the music I want to hear anymore.
Well, exactly, and that's another thing. Is
Yeah.
like, and the one thing that I will give Texas, like, Oklahoma is the shit and the best or whatever, but Texas is huge, and there are multiple scenes and centers that you can go to and really create a following and nurture a following. And so we've got like Lubbock and Fort Worth and Houston and San Antonio and New Braunfels and San Marcos and all these little places that you can play, and they all are connected by this vast radio network that plays only that kind of music.
Yep.
And that is a really cool thing. And that's why I can go to Texas, 8 months out of the year and make a living. Because there's just like, they're that into it. And the fact that they can turn on their radio and hear 8 cool songs in a row or whatever, or songs that are within kind of their listening spectrum or whatever, is such a cool thing that nobody around here gets. And like, if they took 95.9 The Ranch off the air tomorrow, there would be riots in Fort Worth, Texas, and probably Dallas too. Like, there would just like, people have gotten so used to having it, and it's such a cool thing. I try to tell Texans when I'm down there, I'm like, man, don't take your radio for granted, because we don't have it up here as much.
Yeah.
There are pockets, and there are people. There are a few that are fighting the good fight, and God bless them. But they're not connected. And I got a friend down in Lawton, named Kristen, that's trying to actually get the same kind of vibe going for Oklahoma radio as Texas has, because that makes that place a destination for music.
Yep.
Every time people go out to do whatever they're going to do on Friday night, their first question, who's playing where? Who's close? Who can I go see? And that's their social scene, that's their party scene. Like, it's all wrapped up in one, and it's really great. It's great for me, great for all of us, so artists or whatever.
If you play the same song twice in 24 hours, you lose that midnight swagger.
Yeah, well, that's what happens. There you go. Yeah, that's a song about getting drunk and trying to walk. That's proof that songs don't have to be deep.
Yeah.
I feel like that's a good song. It's not that deep. It's about as deep as a reflecting pool, but it doesn't have to be. It's just a song about, man, shit. And like the after effects of that, I don't know. I liked it. But, I like them all, whatever.
You have any projects you're working on right now?
Yeah, man. I'm actually helping my sister record a record. And she's like 2 years younger than me. She didn't start playing guitar until she went to Italy, and she was playing the banjo, and I sent her one of my guitars to kind of learn how to play some stuff on. When she got back, we moved in together for a brief period, half a year or so. And I kind of just, her telling the story is way better of me trying to teach her how to play guitar, because I am apparently the world's shittiest teacher. But she learned, and she's really good. She's actually a really great naturally talented songwriter. And she's got a collection of really great songs under her belt already. And she's been doing it half as long, if not less, than I've been doing it. Her first record was great. My first record kind of sucked. I mean, it was my fault that it sucked. I was young and green, but I wanted to get out there and do it, and the experience of doing that kind of let me get better. And but her first record's great. So,
Awesome.
But the one we're working on now is going to be something really special. She's got 5 really great songs recorded now, and I think we're going to do the next 5 at her house and kind of do them a little pared back and just kind of pepper them in. And she's going to put out a really great record. So be watching for that. Kirsten White is her name. Kierston. Yeah.
Nice. We'd love to have her on anytime
Oh
she
man,
wants to come on too.
I'll give her a buzz. We should do it together sometime. That'd be fun.
Yeah, that'd
Would be really fun. Yeah, I'll hit her up and see what she wants to do.
Yeah, for sure.
Awesome. You want to plug you got any shows coming up, or any, want to plug social media, merch, anything
social
like
media,
that?
all that. We've got the Damn Quails. I think it's damnquails.com. That's something.
We'll find it and link it.
You'll find it, damnquails.com. I'm pretty sure that's it. We've had a few websites over the years. Sometimes you gotta abandon ship and change. There's things. But we're on Facebook, the Damn Quails, and I'm got a Bryon White music account too. That's just for some of the solo stuff I do. Sometimes I still play solo shows every once in a while. And I have some stuff that I don't always play with the Quails, that songs that still on the burner that I like to play. So you can find some of that stuff there. And Twitter at the Damn Quails, and at Bryon White, WHYTE, which is just a weird way, but BRYON is how you spell my first name. And that's, we're playing Braun Brothers Reunion in a couple of weeks, so that's going to be fun. We played it like a decade ago, and we're just now going back, and so that'll be really fun. We've played a lot of great festivals at the beginning of this year, like we do Mile Zero Fest and we do Steamboat, and I think we're doing both of those again this next year. Check those out. Check all the shows out. Instagram has a pretty good listing of our current show dates and where we're going to be. So come see us. We're all over the place. You'd be surprised how many people are like, I didn't know you guys were right down the street. And like, Instagram, baby.
Yeah.
Like, that's where it's at.
Yeah, exactly.
Facebook, too. Twitter's not so great. I'm not so great at putting show stuff up anymore. I used to do all our social media back the first couple of years. And just hated. I hated it.
Yeah.
So I don't do all of it, but I do a lot of like all the Twitter. The Twitter's all me and shit.
We don't have a lot of Twitter. We were talking about it over text earlier. We don't have a lot on
I
Twitter.
like the Twitter. I've always liked Twitter because, again, it's you're faced with constraints. You only have so many letters to make so many words and to say what you want to say. Something about that appeals to me. So it drives the creative part of my brain.
Yeah.
And it takes sometimes a lot to do that. Like I got 12 M's in a row on one of the songs on the new record. So be listening for that. It's in there somewhere. I won't tell you exactly which track, but you'll catch it.
Okay.
12 M's in a row. It's pretty good.
Well, hopefully we'll, without spilling too much, hopefully in the next couple months we'll link back up and be able to do something else.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And we really appreciate you coming by,
man,
taking the
thanks for having
time.
me.
It's been a blast for us.
20 minutes from me, so I'd love to come back. Sure.
Yeah,
Thank you.
that's
Thanks
awesome.
for having me.
Yep. Thank you for coming on.
Thank you.
Anytime.
Bryon White, everybody.
Yes.